My listing just got featured on New York Times. If you're curious how that happened, stick around. I'll break down the steps that I advised my seller to do in order to make sure that their listing stood out not only locally, but apparently nationally. So let's give a little bit of backstory. Before we get there, I'm Cbus Nathan. I am your local realtor here in Columbus, Ohio. I focus on nonprofits, the city itself, things to do in and out of the city. So if that's something that is interesting to you, make sure that you like and subscribe. I put videos out every Friday. But again, let's dive into this client's success story. So they were looking to move to a different part of the city. They currently lived in Bexley, Ohio, and they were looking to move closer to some family up north. So they approached me and we started the conversation of looking for land that they wanted to build on, and they wanted to stay in their current home while their new build was being built. So while their new build was being built, I came out maybe 3 to 6 months before we knew that they were going to be listing their home. And I walked through the property. I pointed out things that I thought needed to be addressed, things that needed to be fixed up in the house to make sure that their home presented itself best. As I was setting them up to list their property, I did an audit of the neighborhood, let them know what other properties were selling for, especially first, like right when they went into contract on their new build, just to let them know what they could expect. Now, obviously that new build process takes a while, so I kept them updated along the way with listings that had sold within their neighborhood and letting them know, hey, we might be able to push the price to this because of these other comps within the neighborhood. So keeping them up to date throughout the process helped alleviate some of their stress along the way. And then again, meeting with them earlier, I made sure that we hit on curb appeal. Again, those minor fixes, any like deferred maintenance or anything like that, somebody's gonna walk into your property and they want to make sure that it feels like, it is pristine. Well, I wouldn't say pristine. It should be, very, what am I trying to look for? Clean, crisp, it just feels like it is in its best light. So we set up all of those steps in order for them to achieve that. And I would check in, weekly, every couple weeks, as they, were connected with a handyman and contractor to address those items and get their house listing ready. So after taking care of those items, I had my stager come out. So I wanted to make sure that we really elevated that luxury experience for that potential buyer who was walking into this home. It was such a unique property. The seller had done an amazing job updating it, renovating it. So I really wanted to make sure that the furniture and the staging that we did complemented all the hard work that they put into it. So I work with a couple different stagers here in Columbus that I know will work well for a specific property. So introduced them to that stager. The stager came out, did a consultation. We had them get everything ready. Once the staging was done, I had my cleaner come out. That is something that I take care of for all of my listings, is having a cleaner come out, clean the property completely, deep clean. We're talking, cabinets, everything. I've had some sellers before say, we thought we were clean people until your cleaners came out. And I will say they are phenomenal. So they came out, cleaned, and then I work with one of the best photographers and videographers in Columbus, Ohio. So making sure that the marketing, because that's going to be the first impression anybody sees, is what is online, the photos, the videos, making sure all of that is top notch. Really make sure that your listing will stand out among others. So we got the property listed, it's live, it's on the market. I will say that I pride myself in making sure that I follow up with anybody and everybody who reaches out about your listing. And I did that especially for this listing as well. So I got an email. I wasn't quite sure if it was legit or not, but like I said, I will follow up with everyone. I reached out to them and they were a reporter from the New York Times. So I hopped on, had a conversation with this reporter, and they were doing a feature on, what 700K gets you in 3 different areas of the US. So we were fortunate enough to be the selected Ohio feature for that week. And I asked the reporter on the call, what stood out? Why did you pick our listing? And they just mentioned that from the photos, they thought that it was very interesting. They thought that it was styled very well, that it would be very editorial to be able to, put in the New York Times. So again, going back to making sure that you hire somebody who has vendors and partners that will make your property stand out and make it look elevated is so, so important. So the feature came out and I forwarded to my sellers, and obviously we were all elated, excited. And I was happy that they got to be featured in New York Times, and also that one of my listings got to be featured in New York Times. But again, it was all about making sure that we presented it best. We got that offer, we have it closed, and now they are enjoying their new life and their new build, and couldn't be happier. So the moral of this whole story is make sure that you align yourself with an expert in the market who knows how to position your property within the market. I, again, am so, so happy for my sellers throughout all of this. If you are somebody who is looking to potentially sell your property, move into a new property here in Columbus, or maybe you're just relocating to Columbus from another city and need an agent who would position your home in your market the way that I would position my home here in Columbus, feel free to reach out. You can click the link below, set up a one-on-one consult, and we can go through the stages of selling your home, what that looks like, preparing it, all of that to make sure that you're set up for the best success and to make sure that we can have your property stand out and maybe one day be featured on the New York Times. I don't know. I would like to have multiple New York Times features. Let's go. So again, my name's Cbus Nathan. I put out videos every Friday on Columbus, things to do around it, nonprofits, so on and so forth. So if that's something that interests you, make sure that you like, subscribe, follow along, and until next Friday, I hope you have a great week.